Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 189, and today we're going to be doing battle with Yasuo Katarina. And so my daily followers, my regular followers know we spend a lot of time talking trash about Yasuo, whether or not that was back in the days of Expedition or in the modern times now of Best of 3. I have spent an exceptional amount of time just talking about how bad Yasuo is. And I'm curious if we've finally come to the time to where I need to kind of bite my tongue and reevaluate our stance. It's a good thing to do in gaming, a good thing to do in life in general. You occasionally have to go out and just kind of reevaluate how you stand on certain things and see if the new information brought to you has made you change your opinion. And so, the thing that I feel like we could have really missed from seasonals and seeing some of the better players go for these anti-Nami lineups was the usage of Yasuo Katarina. Now, this is something that I knew existed. I knew this deck was out there. I spent a lot of time looking at the ladder stats, looking for decks that are good against Nami Twisted Fate. That's how we kind of came up with even decks like Fizz Riven, as that's a deck in the area that's quite strong against Nami. And I knew it was on my radar that Yasuo Katarina was good here. If you're looking on the screen, you can see the various action Lee Sin decks quite weak to what we're playing here. And then also the Nami Lee Sin, Nami Twisted Fate are both positive matchups for the Yasuo Katarina. And I knew it. I was well aware of it. But I do still have this bias in my head of Yasuo just being terrible and just looking right over it. And so just again, the best of three strategy we like to meme is that you just ban one deck, you concede to the second one, and then you just 2-0 Yasuo every time. And so you can imagine if that's the mindset that we're going to have, that you can certainly get caught up in it and look over this when you shouldn't be. And so that brings me to kind of like the next point before we start talking about the deck. This will be our last video before the release of the Darken Saga middle set, whatever whatever that one's called. And I'm curious if the state of the format right now is Ionia is the anomaly, or if Lee Sin and Nami are the anomaly. And I'm curious to see what happens in this upcoming patch if Riot attacks just like Nami, if they say, ooh, we need to also attack Lee Sin because we have all these new double spell kind of cards coming out, or if they go after some of the kind of core of the problems here. Maybe they just do something small to Nami, like make her cost one more to level up, but they come out here and attack cards like Momentous Choice and Ionian Tellstones that have been kind of causing a lot of widespread problems across the format. It's very common to see these lineups coming out of seasonals to where you were just running like triple Ionia, is to where you are playing, say, Nami, Twisted Fate, Action, Lee Sin, and then Yasuo, Katarina, or some other flavor of Ionia as your third choice. Typically weren't seeing that. You're typically seeing Fiora Pantheon in that space. But the Ionian core of these momentous choices, the Ionian Tellstones, the Concussive Palms, the Will of Ionias, the Denies, this core is all there across all of those decks. And then they're all also looking to take advantage of the Vestian Disciple. And so, again, I'm curious if these are the kind of things that get attacked, these individual cards, these Ionia tenets on the whole, or if it's the champions that they go after. We'll have to see. If it's the champions they go after, then we're going to have even bigger opportunities for Ionia to be good in the next set. And that's one of the main reasons that I was wanting to come in here and give this deck a go today. And so, to speak to the deck itself, I just grabbed this off runeterra.ar. I've gotten a few games in with it. This was Jay Sensational's list. I know he's a content creator. I haven't followed along too much in his journey, but I do know that he is the kind of Yasuo leader of the world. Now, whether or not he truly believes in Yasuo or if he's just out there memeing, doesn't matter. He tends to be the one that is out there and giving it a real and serious go with Yasuo all the time. And so I'm going to defer to him in terms of having the good deck list here. And so that's where the deck comes from. In terms of the deck itself, it has a couple of different combos really going for it, right? It has this standard kind of recall based thing with the Fey Blade Twirlers. The big ideas and combos you used to run with Yasuo would be running things like the Mourned and Vestian Disciples. They get to strike in combat. They return to your hand in the middle of combat, and then the Fey Blade Twirler gets these bonus attacks while it's still out there in battle. And so it tends to be a very challenging unit to block, and it also tends to ramp up in damage very quickly. This deck list here Has a few additional ways to take advantage of that between things like Might and then the Ionian Hookmaster, generating overwhelms and then attacking with a 7 or a 9 power overwhelm unit, getting those additional damages in there. Here recently, though, with the release of the Windswept Hillock, this has been the late game potential that's been added to the deck. And so it's not just the Yasuo boat, it's not just a way to draw Yasuo. It has this: when you gain the attack token, stun the strongest enemy piece to it. And that ties together fantastically with Katarina. And so with Katarina out here generating recalls, if you imagine we come into our turn, we get a stun. With the Hillock, we get in a decent attack because all of our units have quick attack. We maybe kill a unit or two in the process, and then we play Katarina, stun another opposing unit, and get another attack, potentially even 2 more attacks that round, and another stun. It's just a really, really powerful late game engine that can be good on both offense and defense, right? We were just describing the offensive turn with it, but defensively, if we're playing Katarina on our opponent's turn and getting the chance to shut down our opponent's best play, or their strongest unit, we should say, a lot of opportunity to just take advantage of the board. Now, the last couple of things going on with this deck, it does have a lot of very heavy tempo-based plays with the usage of Concussive Palm, Will of Ionia, and Ionian Tellstones. Fantastic ways to deal with the larger units that our opponents can be bringing. Then it has the 3 copies of Ravenous Flock as more efficient removal. And so it has this really nice, efficient removal package with it. Has some ways to protect our cards with the Memories, Cloak, and the Denies. And just a little bit of card draw with the likes of Whispered Words. And so that's it. That's the deck we'll be playing today. Let's head on into battle. Before we do so, though, you know what we have to do. We have to come in and pay the pay-to-win price, and it seems appropriate. I mean, this is what I'm talking about, right? We played 500-some expeditions. We paid the pay-to-win price in all of them. We've played Constructed since then. We're up on video like 180 now, so we should have paid almost 700 cards we've turned premium, and this Ionia stuff is still just out here hanging out. No premiums whatsoever. This Flayed Blade Twirler, I think this was in the initial set, right? And it still hasn't had the chance to be turned premium. That's just the supreme amount of trash that I've talked about Yasuo for all these years. And so it's time. It's time for battle, my friend. Let's get you in here, see what you can do. All right, it's Yasuo. All right, we got a cat trying to dig its claws into me. It's only appropriate as we're, oh my gosh, as we're trying to battle with this dumb Yasuo. We have this dumb cat just jamming his claws right in. All right, let's get to battle here. Up against the Kanye Westicle. Let's see what happens. And so, we're going to be looking for some of this early game interactivity, the Disciples, the Blade Twirlers. We're not a real aggro deck per se, but we would still like to have some of these aggro ideals happening out here. If we can provide a little bit of pressure in the early game, that would be great. More than happy to have our Disciple eat the Thermogenic Beam. The beam is one of the few ways they can actually kill a Yasuo. And so to see that go for it's not a completely low value unit, but it's not the highest thing that we need. Happy to see that kind of thing go. Then, excuse me, no turn 2 concurrent timelines. Sounds good to me. In with the Caitlyn. Sure. All right. We got a real opportunity to push a big aggro draw on our opponent here, so I do want to get the 6 power of units on the board. I want to drop the Flock onto Caitlyn. And then, ideally, we're going to be in a space to where we have a really strong open attack next turn. All right, probably worth saving. Don't have too much coming for the momentous choice anyways, and so if we can keep our Blade Twirler on board, there's a very real chance opponent doesn't have a way to interact with it next turn. So feel pretty safe there. God, he picks up the Pot of Pain. Got it. What you got for me, Hookmaster? I'm not that worried about having to block in this match, right? We have a lot of ways to just stun. So I think we're just going to go for the stats off of the Hookmaster. The things you can also be kind of on the watch for here is if you do manage to get your flipped Yasuo, he starts doing strikes, right? Instead of just dealing 2 damage, he starts to strike equal to his power. And so if we're going to be doing strikes based on his power, then he's a pretty reasonable target to add a +3 attack weapon to. Alright, well, we keep blanking our opponent on this Fey Blade Twirler, but we're not actually punching in for the real damage that matters here. So I'm worried about it just a little bit, but we'll see if we can't recover. We have the opportunity for some big tempo plays here in the Will of Ionia. Not going to bounce the Revna, but you tend to draw expensive units off of Revna. And so we have some potential there to get big tempo plays here. Oh, just more Revnas. Okay. He's gonna have the big units, that's for sure. I did the mathematics on it. His units are gonna be big here. Oh boy, he just drew this massive Caitlyn. That's not as awesome. I was really hoping that he was going to spend all of his mana this turn. I would assume he's going to get some kind of attack in. Okay, well this is at least manageable, right? He's going to... I'm going to say he's going to be tapped out here, but now he's got this good Rhymefang Wolf. A little unfortunate. Alright, well we can take the 9. It's not the end of the world. But it's a little unfortunate that we had to face a challenger unit here coming off of the concurrent timelines. Alright, well let's see where this gets us. If he wants to make like the big block onto the Blade Twirler, then we would have the option to come in with Might. He comes after Yasuo, which is fine. We're going to take him down to 12. We're just going to have to hope that we can't punch in these last points of damage with a Might. How did this really just has another one? I guess the last Tavern Keeper didn't have... He's just been drawing units, right? He played the second Revna, picked up a unit, and then drew 2 units after the fact.
Don't let the fluffy tails fool you.
So we have to get 2 dudes on board. Well, we're currently dead, unless we pick up another stun. Right, he can hook both of our units out of combat. Then he can have a Caitlyn hit in while the Blade Twirler can't block. Alright. A little unfortunate. Just a little bit short in what we were able to hit there. Some quality hits on the timelines at the end. But that's the problem in playing cards like stuns. It's one of the reasons I've never been the huge fan of Yasuo, is that if you play a Vengeance, the unit's gone forever. If you play a Will of Ionia, then the unit is at least gone for a while. But if you're playing stuns, then it just stops that one combat. So the stuns have to like really, really be effective to push over top of your opponent's board. All right, but reasonable enough start here. Let's hang on to the Yasuo. He can come down here pretty quickly against Lux and not have to worry about too many cards. Would have been pretty capable of winning that last game if the beam didn't come down on the Disciple. I was glad to see it happen, and I think that game still played out okay, but it would have meant quite a few more points of damage coming out of our Blade Twirler. Sure. It's quite a tempting upcycle Drake. I was immediately thinking it's like, well, let's just take the fix 'em up because that lets us now block one of the 3/3s and then have good attacks on the next turn. But putting upcycled Rake onto the Yordle sounds quite impressive. Such a strong ability to pass up on. Oh wow, and then he no attacks? I guess that makes sense. Oh, we should still get some time here. Not a big deal. With this, I'm looking to add the second Blade Twirler, the Shimon Wind, and then the Vestayan Disciple. Just get these monstrous Blade Twirlers going, and now that he's tapped down to 2 mana, he shouldn't have any real ways to deal with this. He can Mystic Shot one of our small boys, but we're gonna be coming in with these giant quick attackers now. Looks like these Reggies are about to fall. Poor Reg. The preventer of damage. Making those big manifest decisions. Alright, so we'll have a 5 power and a 7 power dude. I assume he's just going to throw Reggies in front. That's what he chooses to do. Now we get to draw a ton of cards. Looking to be in a pretty decent spot. See if this is where Lux comes down. She's not ultra scary this turn, but should be scary at some point. So can we protect our Katarina through this board? We probably need to wait on the combat to end. I assume he's going to bring a hook into one of our dudes, and we can follow up with Katarina and shoot the Forge Worker.
Stand in judgment. You can't outrun justice.
I think I'm okay with this. We can get the Blade Twirler up to 5 health. I mean, that's probably pretty worthwhile. And we can look to switch to Katarina a little bit later. I'm not... Like, it doesn't seem horrible to... Maybe we do like this. What if we say play the Rake this turn onto the Blade Twirler, and then we just immediately play Katarina as our open next turn? I think I like this. And then we can Katarina into the Forge Worker and then follow up attack with the dude. Okay. Pick the combat reel. We have a ton of stuff here to do with our mana, so if we can return a little bit of it, that would be cool. Let's just wait on the Rake. We can spell mana that onto the board next turn if something. Then we can have a chance to see if something goes wrong with Katarina. I'm not really worried about opponent playing a bunch of slow spells into us, right? He can play something like a Shockwave here, whatever the Jace flip card is that would be bad. But outside of it, there's not a lot to worry about here. Cool. You got all the Forge Workers, my dude. Sure. He just has no good blocks coming off of this. That's not a terrible deal. Thinking of growing the small one, it's like, if he had a Mystic Shot, he probably would have already played it, but I'm not letting this turn get shut down by a Thermogenic Beam. And so let's just keep the Scout unit up. He seems nice and strong as it is. Clearing out some of this board, that's great. another collection of horrible blocks for opponent. And this is where we start to get into a pretty decent spot as well. As to where if we go into next turn and he's like, oh boy, here's Lux, and we get to just send her back to hand, we just have incredible amounts of power coming out of what we're about to do. One could say, opponent just did fuck all that round. I think it's a fair assessment of what opponent just did. You know, I think it's fair. He spent like 9 mana on a bunch of meaningless dudes, and so sounds pretty cool to me. So this Jace is going back to hand. I'm not sure why I put quick attack on him, because he's an ignorable attacker. So I was thinking it's like I want to play the Shimon Wind into the Tellstones. That's 7 mana. But with his Jace now having quick attack instead of Challenger, I just don't care. This is what we can take this 8. Care even less. Care even less. Okay. Alright, we need to get some of this stuff on board. Let's spend a couple spell mana on the Shimon Wind. It's kind of interesting in this entry. Yeah, as I say, that game's done, dude. I checked the status on that game, dude. It was done. Good stuff. Good stuff. I'm having a good day now. I ran into this thing when I was in my youth. The thing I used to do is like I'd be at work, I'd get pissed off, and I always listen to music at work. You know, get the good value out of that Spotify account. And so what I would do is if I get pissed off, I would just start listening to Ice Cube. If you're not familiar with Ice Cube from back in the 90s, he was putting together some very influential gangster rap, as they called it at the time. I guess it's probably still called gangster rap, but you know, that's what Ice Cube did. He was in NWA. When he was done with NWA, he went on to his solo career, and then after his solo career, he started making movies. The first movie that you would expect to see him from would be Friday, and then he moved on after that to start making movies like Daddy's Home, just making tons and tons and tons and tons of money. You know, I'm glad that he's getting those dollars, but it's a real wake up call when you move from NWA to Daddy's Home, and so props to him. But he has an album from the '90s. It's his first solo album. It's called The Predator. It's a fantastic album. It's absolutely wonderful. But the thing with The Predator and me is that I used to listen to it whenever I would just get like in a really shitty mood. The kind of space that I would say was that, you know, I'm having a bad day now, but Ice Cube's had way worse days than I've ever been having, and so it's tough to be, you know, mad and upset at him, or mad or upset when you're hearing about the troubles of Ice Cube and his time and the neighborhoods he grew up with and the problems of growing up where he did. And so oh fuck, I just fucked this up, didn't I? I was planning on making this block because we were going to kill the Callista, and then I didn't think about her flipping. Well, we can come back and fix this, hopefully. But back to talking about Ice Cube. But yeah, that was kind of the thing, is I would get into a bad mood. You can't be in a bad mood listening to Ice Cube because your things just aren't relevant, right? He's just had such a worse time than you were. It's hard to be upset. And so at the end of the day, like I would just start getting mad, and so I would get in this cycle of where I was like I just get pissed off. My solution to being pissed off was to listen to someone more pissed off than me, and then it just kind of built up to this crescendo of being pissed off, and I had to just like break the cycle. I had to get out of doing that, and so that's when I switched to listening to what I call girls singing pop songs, and so I listened to a lot of Taylor Swift and the like instead of listening to Ice Cube. And it was just night and day difference between the level of upset that I was being. But no, I did it today. I mentally thought of it. I knew what was about to happen. I was about to listen to Ice Cube, and I didn't let myself go down that rabbit hole of being pissed off. I was a happy listener today. It kind of elevated my mood when I was recognizing the potential problems and not letting them get to me. So that was one of the struggles on the day. But man, props to him. He's had a wild career in terms of the way things have gone and the changes that he's made. Incredible. All right, what do we have going on here? Can't really drop the Hillocks here. We're not going to be gaining any attack tokens. We have access to some stuns and some combat tricks. I think like all of our attacks into the Callista are okay. He can't feel good about like blocking with Callista, but I don't think this is the point to really be going all in. I'm looking at this turn and just say putting the amulet onto Yasuo, attacking with everyone and planning to Will of Ionia Callista. But I want opponent to have to spend some mana before we do this. And I don't really want him to be able to attack with her. Maybe we just like slow our roll a little bit. And then say, if we're able to just like slow this game down and get into next turn, we're going to be okay. So let's do this. Let's take the Hillock. It's going to put the Yasuo into our hand. That's going to give us a opportunity to just like stun whatever he's bringing next turn. And now we're going to have the decent attacks here. He still has like opportunities for shutdowns, but I really want it to be in this next turn with access to Will of Ionia and the Steel Tempest. So even if we don't get any attacks this turn, it's going to feel okay. Alright, we should be safe. The only thing he can be doing here is a +2/+2 for 1 mana, and that's not going to be enough to kill our Yasuo. He can prevent like a Blade Twirler, but Yasuo is going to be okay. Cool. Now, one of the things you can pull off here with these stuns and coming into Callista, she needs to deal the combat damage to the other unit. So if he says like attacks with Callista, resummons one of those 2/2s, and then we kill off the 2/2 with a stun, we can then block Callista and actually kill her in the middle of this combat. I'd feel a little bit better just sending her back to hand or something, but we definitely have some options in terms of dealing with this Callista. I'm good enough with this one, just taking the Concussive Palm in. Keeping her from attacking keeps that other unit from coming out. I don't know what the unit would be. He's got a handful of plays it could be at this point, but this definitely feels reasonable. And how much do we care about this Nora? I think it's like we're just kind of stuck taking the damage from her. Our Yasuo is a little bit far away from flipping. And so we're not going to get big takedown from her. I don't care so much about her planning the portals. It's so much as her generating the big followers. So like just sending her back to hand and then having him immediately replay Nora doesn't seem super ideal. Although he doesn't have any portals at this point. Like, given that we're playing against Shadow Isles, I guess we could even extend that out to Shadow Isles Vandal City. We probably want to just keep this Deny up as a means to protect our Yasuo from a vengeance.
Your attack is obvious. Welcome to try.
Want to see these moves up close?
Okay, let's see what happens. It's gonna say, boom, it's a withering whale. It's a Callista Black Spear. I think I'm okay with it. The problem is if he has a second one. And if he has a second one, then whatever, I guess. Whatever, I guess. Teammaker, beautiful. Alright, so the round will start. We'll get the attack token. We'll kill the Callista. Go us. We have a lot of really good attacks lined up here. Even more blade twirlers. Never going to get a lethal this round, though. It's probably decent to just try and whittle down some of this board. Let's drop the amulet. See if he adds more dudes. Not the greatest of dudes for us to see added, but I think this is okay. Right, we can just clear this stuff out. As soon as this Yasuo flips, this game should be pretty close to done. And we're outpacing his portals pretty well. Ah, shit. We were outpacing his portals pretty well. This isn't the end of World Virna, though. We've got Will of Ionias and Blade Twirl and Mites to punch through it. Let's go ahead and send the Nora back. This is going to give us recalls on our Blade Twirler, so we now kill the Virna. And then on next turn, his opening draw into the portals will be small. So this recall won't kill Nora, that's okay. We're just doing this for a bit of value here, getting the big unit off the board, weakening what they're able to do.
Don't let the fluffy tails fool you.
So many Blade Twirlers. That's what happens when you turn premium. Nobody wants to believe in the pay-to-win price, but it's definitely a thing. It's in the rulebook. You flip to page 10 of the rulebook. It says if you turned your cards premium, then Riot improves your chances of winning. And so, it's the only reason we hit Masters. What you got for us now? Haunted Relics? Okay. Alright, he's certainly doing stuff. Oxen Defector, don't care. The Leviathan, that's a pretty big portal hit. Poor guy, the poor Noxen Defector. Grow my power to instead of grow my power by. It's just him getting +5 attack here would be so much better than just getting the +3. Is that a Darkened Halberd onto the Leviathan? Okay. Nothing we can do about this stuff. The big thing here, though, we're not at real risk of dying.
Up close.
So we'll make sure here if we stun the 7 power guy, we're gonna take 8 and fall to 1. I'd really like to play for the value here. Like you could be playing things like Pokey Stick as a means to send the damage back to our hand. Fine. Fine. We can counterspell a Pokey Stick. It just feels like I guess we are advancing our board to a degree, because this will flip our Yasuo, then he can get a strike in next turn, but his strike is still short of killing the dude, even with the equipment attached. Then we're going to take 2 damage off of the Leviathan starting in the next turn. Okay, Might, we're counting on you. The The Blade Dweller is going to immediately grow to a 13. We can get him up to a 16. That's a little short. The Disciple helps a bit.
I don't do meditation.
Oh, we did have enough just to kill the Leviathan. I didn't count. I missed out on the Yasuo flipping, giving us that point. We're missing out on all the +1s from the flips today. Embarrassing.
Doors to adventure. A good cup of tea, just what I needed.
Alright, well. I'm glad I realized he had Nora on the board before we attacked with the Disciple. Now we'll get to see if he just blocks with something too small. So if we might through here, it's not going to be a lethal. So we'll just stop. Continue waiting. So saw this board, I was like, what the fuck? There's something to worry about. But pretty choice draw on the Whispered Words. Definitely need something to do here. Perfect time for a little 2-for-1. That's the harrowing kind of thing. All right, perfect. So go ahead and send that dum-dum back. Looks like we're gonna have to take some more damage from Nora, but we don't just immediately lose the game, which is a bonus. Always nice to just not immediately lose the game. Hey, rip Yasuo. You fought hard, my dude. You fought hard.
Sometimes you're the fish, sometimes you're the
Oh, I didn't want the rake. I saw the rake and thought I'd be able to just immediately put it onto the Blade Twirler, which was inaccurate. That's not the way that worked, but let's see if we can just spew off a lethal now.
Welcome to the team.
You get some dudes. Good job.
Pick on some of your own speed. Hey, over here! Trying to keep up.
Are we finally gonna do it? Are we gonna take down this marathon of a game? Eclectic Collection doesn't matter. He's gonna have to make us draw some cards for that to be a big deal. Alright, let's see if he's got more removal spells. Oh, man. Oof. Oof. FTP bust given lessons on emoting a little too early. I don't know if you caught it in the middle of that Leviathan attack when he starts dropping the good game emote. You may have made your way to Masters, my friend, but you still have some lessons to learn. All right, on to this dumb deck. That's the way to start describing things. Oh, this dumb deck. Great. So it is tough here on the first turn. I do want to add a unit. Before we picked up the Mourned, I was like curious which one we wanted to draw, because they tend to play. They tend to play not get excited, go hard. And if he's going to have go hard on the first turn, what do we want to lose? We have some variety in the Disciples or the arguably worse unit in the Mourned. He pops off the go hard.
What could you ever teach me? Catch the wind! Lesson learned. I don't do meditation.
All right, see if we got more go hards coming at us.
Hey, over here!
God, they don't have anything to do. I'm not a huge fan of adding these Katarinas here, but
Catch the wind!
maybe we can we'll at least 3 bank it and go into the next turn.
The spirit gives to those who listen. It is time.
Alright, girl. We got this memory cloak to protect you. It can't be that bad, right? Can't be that bad. We'll see if he plays any more spells. This gives us an opportunity to now Ravenous Flock the Eye of the Dragon. Does he have ways to kill Katarina? Like, he could... I don't think this deck plays Black Spear. But he's not at flow, so I don't think we particularly care at the moment.
Sometimes you're the fish, sometimes you're the bait.
Alright, we'll take the spell mana one. Hopefully we can churn off the Shimon Wind a few turns in a row.
To restore this legacy is my greatest honor.
It is tempting seeing the Blade Twirler pop up. We're gonna get double recalled this turn. He's only got 5 mana, right? 6 mana would be the big price point that lets him really come after our Katarina. I'm just definitely worried though. Like she's gonna provide so much to this board. Now that we get the attack, I definitely feel better. Getting that mana and letting his Memory Cloak. Can't Memory Cloak that, doesn't have a single target, but it only hits the 1 unit. Okay. Alright, Katarina gets in for some strikes. 6 damage to the Nug piece. We can technically, like, heal with the Tellstones if we need to.
Before strength.
Alright, let's get the good stuff going here. So do we ever want to Tellstones out of this and take the heal, right? Put the heal on the small unit. There's some possibility there, but I think I'm okay to just pass on that. If he wants to play another Withering Wail next turn, we're still at least safe here in that we're about to drop this combat reel. We're going to pick up some extra health, and now we're going to just be coming in with dumpster loads of damage.
Follow the wind, but watch your back.
Could have gone for a lethal here, but I do suspect opponent's about to be up to shenanigans, right? I don't want to get too involved with this Katarina. Maybe we should have. Well, I don't think we're in any like real danger of losing this game, but we could have ended it right there. It's always better to win now than to win the next turn with a bit of flourish to it. But I mean, I guess we have this flourish in the Katarina. He says, "Give me that Blade's Edge finish." All right, but here's some of those cycles we were talking about, right? We have the Hillock, the Yasuo on board. We add Katarina, that gives us a rally. The Hillock then activates, stuns the opposing unit. Now we have opponent down 1 less on their board. We're ready to attack. As they say, shit just got real.
Step closer to redemption.
GG. All right, this dumb deck. What a way to start off to say, oh, this dumb deck. I wonder if we're actually capable of hanging on to the Hillock in this match. It's the thing that like I start to think of with this is they're definitely going to be stronger than us in the early game, but they're going to just start adding like giant units to the board. And having this kind of recursive stun against an opponent that's going to play like a 5-drop, a 6-drop, a 7-drop, it's just so incredibly powerful to be able to go after it in that way. We got rid of it, and the game said, nah, it's coming right back at you. It's a mistake to get rid of the Hillock. Let me fix that for you real quick, Bust. Appreciate it.
Follow the horizon.
Think you're fast? Cute.
Okay. See if opponent's going to come in and drop a 3/6 on us. Let's just start with the Mourned. I want to add the Hookmaster as well, but it's probably a space to where it's reasonable to just come in and bank some mana if it doesn't come together how we want. Now it's like a little scary. We have the like Ravenous Flock Momentous Choice in hand. I think it's okay to go for it. This is a spot where they hit us with combat tricks, but maybe that's too greedy.
Will mourn you. Underestimate. I dare you.
I don't feel like we're the aggro deck in this match, and so we should be able to kind of more reasonably just play slow. If we give him a turn or two, he can definitely outrace the Sun Guardian in terms of getting stats.
Let's make this a night to remember.
Nice.
Here's our chance.
Now we're starting to get ahead on the board, right? If he passes, I'm going to pass here. Like, we're still just building up nicely. We're in no, like, real hurry. We have the full combo between the Yasuo and the Katarina. Like, I feel pretty good on this turn if we choose to not attack. But now he adds Ravoon. He's a pretty good stun target if we say stun the Ravoon and then hit with the Thorn of the Rose and the Blade Twirler. But again, I think we're okay just to play slow. We're so close to really just popping off here.
The strength of the sun and my faith are one.
Okay. Not super worried about him gaining health off of the Sunforger. I would like to block Ravoon with like the Hookmaster and then throw down a Ravenous Flock. And then we should be good in the kind of follow-up turns here to really get our Yasuo flowing. So let's see. He attacks with everyone. We block the Sunforger with the Thorn. We block Ravoon with the 3/1. We're going to take 8. Follow up with Ravenous Flock. I think we can add the Mourned. Just prevent a little bit of damage. Then if he doesn't attack, that's great.
Radiant strikes punish transgressions.
He's bringing it.
Are you quite done?
Okay.
Sleep is for the guiltless.
All right, do your thing, Yasuo.
No one is promised tomorrow.
Let's check out his Sunburst status. Just played 1. Should be a little bit more challenging to deal with our complete combo of units. He's got one. Must be nice. Damn. I thought we set that up so well, but the best laid plans. The best laid plans.
I don't do meditation. I am the Simon Wind. Whoosh!
Doesn't seem like he has any more responses. I'm gonna leave one disciple back. I think we're gonna have to do some blocking next turn. Still okay to just send in the Katarina. If she gets some chip damage in, that's actually kind of good. Like, does he ever...
No one gets in my way.
I don't know, like, the heal package these decks usually play. I wouldn't be surprised to see, like, a Pale Cascade come out. But I'm curious if we can, like, go ahead and just get this with the Ravenous Flock. We should probably just go ahead and try to do it. Because I don't want to, like, risk going into next turn and then him just getting the upgrade for free. And then even without our Yasuo, we still have some pretty decent defensive capabilities this turn, right? With the Hillock and generating stuns with Katarina. If he doesn't open on us here, we get to just stun the Sun Guardian again.
Let the bloodshed begin.
That's pretty cool in my books. That's not so much. Whew. Have you all been to this website before? It's called www.haveitall.com. I think that's where opponent's been visiting. They're an avid follower of www.haveitall.com. That's what I do in the morning. I wake up, I get my coffee, sit on the toilet, take my morning shit, visit www.haveitall.com. Alright, well, I'm a little worried about this. We really need to be popping off before Aurelian Soul comes online, and we're just a little bit behind now. Second Hillock is all well and good. Picks us up another Yasuo, but gotta worry about that Aurelian Soul coming down next turn. Okay.
To shine like the sun, you must burn like it. The dawn has arrived.
May it never leave.
The sun's splendor revealed.
I'm ready, Yasuo. Let's bring the thunder. Alright, dude's thinking on it hard. Do you want to play a rally? is this the turn for a golden Aegeus? I can assure you it is not. This is not the turn for those shenanigans.
Our sun will not set today.
Alright, Ravoon comes in. I mean, I think we just have to go ahead and concuss a palm, right? We miss out on the damage with Yasuo, but we don't have to risk him in front of Leona. And at least at worst right now, we have an extra blocker.
Glorious light rains down.
Oh shit, he's bringing like stuns and stuff? Oh jeez. Forgot this Leona does stuff. It's just the dumbest deck ever. This is the kind of deck that frustrates me more about losing than it does than playing against like the Yasuo deck. It's literally just putting a mountain of stats on the board, and then you say, "Are my stats good enough? Did I do enough with my mountain of stats today?" I sure hope so. All right, this isn't lethal. He's going to attack. We can throw down a Shimon Wind and block a 5. That's going to be good for 15. He's now tapped out of rally mana. No. It's on us for playing the Yasuo here, I guess. We could have just tried to get through this turn with Shimon Winds and not put him at risk, but I feel like we needed him on the board like going into this next turn, right? If we're not starting to get the strikes out of our Yasuo, we're just going to fail. But it's definitely not awesome losing him to a single combat. Probably didn't have much choice there, though. Katarina, I think you're going to be a little short. All right, good game, I guess. But yeah, that's what I call the Tarmogoyf problem, right? If you're familiar with Magic, I don't feel like I disagree with Tarmogoyf being a good card. It's not, but there was certainly a point in time when tons and tons of people were playing Tarmogoyf in every extended deck or whatever it was called, Modern, and I don't feel like it was because it was good. It's just really stat efficient. I don't like cards that are just stat efficient. You're never going to see me be like, oh boy, let's play a loyal Badger Bear today. You know, it's like, oh boy, the Badger Bear's coming down. Look at all these stats he gets and does absolutely fuck all. That's exactly what the Leona deck does, is it doesn't do anything. It just puts a bunch of stats on the board. They're like, oh look, I have an 11-11 and a 12-12. Are these enough to win the game? It's like, well, I guess they are sometimes. Probably good enough to win the game about a third of the time. If that's what you're looking for in a deck, I guess that's a pretty good deal. It sounds awful to me, though. All right, on to the old Ezreal Kennen. Another one I'm curious about as we're about to approach this next set. When we're kind of talking about the double spells coming up and being relevant, and if you're looking at a deck like Lee Sin, right, cards like the Frostbite just aren't super relevant. But if you start to look at, say, decks like Ezreal Kennen, as to where Ezreal wants to see you target dudes over and over again, the cards like the Frostbite and the PNZ 1 damage thing are now extremely relevant. Getting to be able to have a single card deal 2 damage and get 2 ticks up from Yasuo, like that's just way better than, well, it's not technically way better than a Mystic Shot. You can't send it to face, but you know the opportunities for greatness are there, is what we should say.
Slaves for the guiltless.
All right, fairly scary place to be dropping Yasuo's without much protection, but opponent needs like a lot of work to take him down, especially when we have a deny in our hand. And so we aren't really looking to pop off with Yasuo in terms of getting attack damage in, as much as I want to play this Hillock next turn and get the stuns happening. Sure. Our unit is dead. Not what I expected. You typically just have a recall coming back out with the Kennen. Now the thing with this Hillock play is it does this at burst speed, right? You put this down, it doesn't put a circle ability on the board, and so he is just going to insta stun the 3/3. If he didn't have the 3/3 on the board, this would be a potential place to where Yasuo would get this insta stun onto Kennen and a potential kill. But with the Wayfinder here, it's not the case, right? If we wanted to play the Arachnoid Sentry and target Kennen, it's going to put the little circle on the board, and then he's going to get the opportunity to respond and play recalls or whatever. But that felt like a pretty positive turn. I don't know what he was expecting out of us not spending any mana, but Right, let's start attacking his stuff. He's got a homecoming onto the Hillock. This just seems very aggressive. I would assume he has to have a second recall in his hand. But there's nothing we can do about this, right? We don't have enough mana to completely stop this play. So the question is going to be, do we want to go for a deny or do we want to go for a stun? And I kind of feel like we might find a better place for a deny in the future to where we have kind of overlapping usages out of these stuns. So I'm just going to go ahead and go with the Concussive Palm. I suspect it's only got 1 mana. Yeah, he hasn't played a weapon. I suspect he's just going to play the physical card Recall, but that should be enough to stop the Homecoming if he's returning Kennen to his hand. Yep. Oh man, I forgot that thing only does 2 damage now. I forgot all about that. This seems exceptionally greedy as well. He knows we have Yasuo in hand from the Hillock. Alright, then round will start. Yasuo will stun down the Wayfinder. So we've gotten a nice collection on board, but we don't have a lot of just stuff to do. We have to start adding these Blade Twirlers and hoping for the best.
Think you're fast? Cute.
I have mastered the rain, lightning, and cloud styles.
Alright, I think this is enough stuff on board. Let's at least see what happens here. We'll get to recover a mana out of this. Right, we're attacking, we're going to get a mana back. That should let us then put a Pot of Pain onto Yasuo. We can potentially say, oh, if this is going to be a Will of Ionia, we get the Deny onto this and another Kennen takedown. Why does he keep trying to recall our Hillock? Like, replaying it is pretty good for us. But the Kennen takedown here seems too good. So strange. Like, this is just like returning the Hillock to let us just replay it and fetch another Yasuo. It's not a horrible thing to have happen for us.
Don't let the fluffy tails fool you.
All right. Here's a fresh stun. Exactly lethal. I was gonna drop a momentous choice if we needed to, but it's tough. There's like a good chance that we don't get the lethals here anyways, right? They have a lot of bounce spells, but it's not a spot where I really like just attacking and our opponent just mashing the next turn button. Okay.
I will regain my honor.
Regain your honor, Yasuo. I believe in you. Alright, this is going to be our last one. We usually play 8. We've been playing all these damn Ionia decks, and they're so fucking slow. This game's probably going to take like 20 minutes. And so I try to keep these videos to like an hour. And as we come in here and play these Ionia decks, it's so hard to jam in 8 games in about an hour when you're playing these stupid things. And so we'll see how long this one takes. Not a great chance of the Morn surviving here. This is another match to where they have sometimes go hard, but then they tend to play like pokey sticks and group shots. There's a lot of like 1 damage pings that could potentially hit the Morn. A lot easier on the second turn than the first, but there's some opportunities. Still don't know. I mean, it never feels like proper to hang on to a 5 mana card, but it seems like so powerful in these matchups. I don't know. Maybe it's not as awesome against Darkness. They don't have as many good targets for this thing as we would see against the other matchups, but I don't know. It achieves a lot. The crowds are out there going, "Bust, you're such a dum-dum. Never keep the Hillock." I feel like we probably shouldn't, but the games just feel so different when you have it compared to when you don't.
Wondrous discoveries await below.
It's like I was dating a girl, and she saw that I played Hearthstone all the time, so she started playing Hearthstone too. And this was back in the times of Cthulhu, right? There was the Cthulhu decks running around, and she was falling into the trap of, well, I want to keep Cthulhu in my opening hand because if I don't draw it, then I can't win the game. And it's like, well, you have plenty of time to get to turn 10. You know, how about you worry a little bit more about getting to turn 10 than making sure you have Cthulhu to play on turn 10. And it never really struck. It's probably why the relationship didn't work out, but never really stuck. All right, and so I'm going to play the Katarina here. I'm not amped about it, but we don't have a lot to do with our hand, and it gives us a good way to spend our mana. The thing with the likes of the Darkness deck is they have a bunch of 1 damage removal, right? They have what we're trying to say, group shots, go hards, pokey sticks, vile feasts, whatever. And then they have like 6 mana removal. So they're going to be playing vengeances. Their thing that gets you in between is going to be Darkness, and he can't play a Darkness here. So I feel like our Katarina should be safe to come down, put the Blade's Edge into our hand, be in a space to where we can then open attack next turn and get her safely back to hand. And he shouldn't have a way to be able to take her down. Hate Spike, not what I was expecting to see out of here today, but I think that's a pretty good line of reasoning. All right, Hillock down. It's only a 3 damage Darkness, so our Yasuo's safe for the moment. Not safe anymore. Oh my god. Oh, he got the bonus health off of the fucking dude? That's kind of lame. So here's a play we call Arachnoid Sentry into double Ravenous Flock, because we can't just let this Vagar sit around. I think this one's probably gotten away from us, but kind of is what it is. Watch this. Guaranteed line of play is gonna Darkness our Sentry and then play another Vagar. Watch it. Put it in your pipe. Get ready to smoke it. Told you. You all say Bust doesn't know what he's talking about. He gets in the all seasonals and takes it into a direct 0-2. I've been to at least 2 rodeos in my life, so definitely not my first one. But nonetheless, not a bad set of games. We had a pretty positive record for a deck that we've have minimal practice with. I have to imagine Darkness is about as close to unwinnable as a matchup as we can find. And as you come in here and see, here it is down here at the 39% land, and so I'm not really surprised that we came out and lost that one. But it is an interesting deck, and again, more so than this deck itself, I'm curious to see what happens in the upcoming patch as to whether or not Riot attacks what I think to be what's going to be kind of a problem. I don't want to say that these like double spell things are up in the land of like Storm and Magic, but it's certainly a powerful mechanic that is going to kind of warp what Riot is able to do. And you can tell that they've really kind of invested in this between flow being a thing and the cultists having all of these cards. And I'm curious how much of these problems are going to be dealt with patches and how much of them are going to be dealt with rotations. They said that rotations are coming. They didn't say when or where. I wouldn't be surprised to see them come into play with whenever the next new big set is. So whatever the one after the Darkened Saga is, it's just like a good place to start, and that gives you the space to where, are they really just like cycling out like Twisted Fate and Vladimir, or do they have a little bit more wide-reaching changes to the format? And so I'm curious, but I can say that like this deck is fine. It's good. If this is what you like playing, then by all means play it. The kind of like, I thought that I would potentially like it more than I did. I like the games to where we had things going with the Blade Twirlers, and I see these things like Blade Twirler and Hookmaster, and I like some of those kind of combos there. I really like Katarina and a lot of the aggression that she brings, but I'm never going to be like really amped about playing decks that have Deny and Ionian Tellstones and shit like that in it. And so I wish that there was a way that, we could make this a little bit more aggressive and fit Decimate in. But at the end of the day, I think it's something that I could reasonably be capable of playing and not hating it, and it's something that we need to kind of like keep in our head that it should actually be considered a real deck, because it is a lot of really powerful stuff that you can do with these stuns and the board stall and the hillock and all of that. Just really, really good at shutting down your opponent's big plays. And so we did like the Leona deck is what I was exactly saying. I know we lost to the Leona deck, but you can see that this is carrying about a plus 60% win rate against the Leona deck. It's just so good against decks that are like, hey, here's all my stats, or I'm going to play a 5-drop, a 6-drop, a 7-drop, an 8-drop, and you're just like, all right, well, here's a bounce spell. Just getting your 7-drop bounced is so monumentally disastrous in this game that this deck is really able to prey on those kind of things. So, it's real. It's a possible deck. I'll give you that, Yasuo, as much as it pains me to say. And so that is going to do it for our video today. If you're a daily follower, this is going to be our last video of the Darkened Saga Awakening. I don't like making videos on the patch release day, and then it's just like not relevant anymore. And so this will be the last gameplay video of the Darkened Saga Awakening. The next video we'll do a patch note set review kind of thing, and then we'll start right in with the new cards and get to brewing and playing with the new stuff. And so I'm excited with that. Hope you're excited about it too. And that will do it for us today. So I hope everyone enjoyed the video. I hope you learned how to open your mind, change your opinions. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.